Hi everyone, it's Nicole. Welcome back to my channel and another card making video tutorial. Today I have some fruit salad cards with coordinating envelopes featuring the pretty pink Posh June 2023 release. We will be using the layering stencils, stamps, dies, and even some hot foil plates, as well as some fun flat sequins for our cards today. And all of these are brand new products from the release. Now I kind of have all of my products laid out in the groups that I think I want to use them in. That helps me when I go to start creating a project to know kind of where I am planning on going. I'm going to start by building all of my backgrounds, then we're going to stamp, emboss, and ink blend all of our images, and finally we'll put the whole thing together. While I'm stenciling the backgrounds, I will also be stenciling coordinating envelopes to go with my cards. I find that while I already have everything out, this is a great time to create the coordinating envelope to go with the design. I am using some watermelon colored ink from Simon Says Stamp. These are their positively saturated inks to ink blend my strawberries. Before I get too far though, I do want to grab some unicorn white pigment ink, and I'm just going to wipe off a little bit of my stencil so I don't accidentally get that ink anywhere. And I have an extra blending brush here. I have another one of these that I use for grays and blacks, but this one hasn't been used before, so this is going to be a great blending brush for white pigment ink. And I am going to just tap kind of that white pigment ink right onto my craft background. Now, something I'm doing a little bit different today is I am creating cards that are all on a craft card base. That's going to be for everything from the backgrounds that we're stenciling to the stamped and embossed images that we're going to ink blend. One of the great things about ink blending our images, which we will do here in a minute, is it's a very quick way to color a bunch of images really fast. And I opted to do that on craft so that they coordinate perfectly with our backgrounds. For the layering stencils, they are lettered A through, in this case, D, which makes it very easy to know the order that they're going to work the best in. You can always do any order that you prefer, but this really is a guide to kind of tell you the best way or how they were designed to be used. I'm using my magnet from my Misty to help kind of hold my stencil in place just a bit. It helps with not having to worry about my hand quite so much. This glass mat from Simon Says Stamp is magnetic, so my Misty magnet works great here. And I probably should just grab another one. 2 magnets would be even better. I ink blended a little cherry ink into the design as well before removing it. Look how beautiful the ink colors look on this craft background. I absolutely love it. We're going to grab our next stencil, and you can see how easy it is to line this up with the tops of the strawberries. And this time we're going to use some Limelicious ink. All of my inks today, with the exception of my embossing ink and the black ink I'm going to use, and the unicorn white ink, I guess I should say, are from Simon Says Stamp. So all the colored ink. The unicorn white and embossing ink I'm using from Hero Arts, and then the black ink I will use for greetings at the end is from VersaFine. I'm going to blend my Limelicious colored ink for the strawberry tops and those individual leaves in the background. I love the difference that you get ink blending on craft cardstock compared to white. Something a little different and fun. You could even do this on other colors of cardstock for a completely different look. I'm going to take some Perfection ink, and I'm just going to add a touch of that to the tops of the strawberries. We're going to be using this more for the layering on the larger leaves in a minute, so I'm not going to add any of that right now. Oh my goodness, look how beautiful this is looking. Next, we have the veining in the leaves. This is where we will use the Perfection ink. And I'm going to use a pretty heavy hand here to get that great detailing for our leaves. Look at that, it's coming to life. And finally, we have the centers of our flowers and our strawberries. Now, I did slightly notice that I kind of got off a little bit here. The seeds of my strawberries still are on my strawberries, but up close, it was hard to see that I was off a little on the center of my flowers, probably with the lighting I use for filming. But that's okay. I think in the finished design, it's not that noticeable. I'm using charcoal ink to ink the seeds for all of my strawberries. And then for the flower centers, I'm going to use a little citrine ink. A little bit extra work since I'm doing multiple colors on a couple of these stencils. I think this is the only stencil set that I had to do that on, but it does turn out beautiful cards. Oh my goodness, I absolutely love it. Okay, I'm going to set my panel aside and clean my glass mat off before bringing my white envelope over here. And I like these bulk white envelopes. That's what I use the majority of the time. Now, I haven't cleaned my stencil and I haven't re-inked my brush at all. And I'm just going to add a little bit of inking to the bottom left corner of each envelope. And I will be doing this for each coordinating envelope I create. It's going to be really simple. I think the citrus envelope is actually going to be along the bottom edge. For my envelopes, I personally like to do something rather quick that doesn't take tons of time. It's not like the envelope is going to be something that is kept necessarily. It's just something I like to create that coordinates back to the card, and layering stencils are one of my favorites for this as they are so quick and easy. And I have mine slightly tilted, just whatever looks best in the corner of that envelope. And I think that looks really cute. Okay, we're going to set that aside and move on to the next background, which is going to be our watermelon. This is the watermelon layered stencils, and I'm going to start with the watermelon ink, of course. This is a 3-piece stencil set. I will be inking the watermelon with watermelon ink all over the panel before moving to the second stencil, which will be our greenery, and finally finishing with our watermelon seeds. And again, using a pretty heavy hand. I probably could have used a larger blending brush for this background since it's all one color, but I do love the little one for kind of getting into all those little nooks and crannies of the stencil. After we have our background, we're going to again take the next piece, which lines up so easily, and we're going to use Perfection to do our greenery. Heavy hand again. I really want to get that ink on there. Part of the reason I'm using a much heavier hand than normal is that we're going over a colored cardstock, over craft cardstock. So the intensity is going to be much different than it would be on a white background. And I want it still to stand out even on the craft base. If you don't want to use an all-over background for your cards with these stencil sets, you could always cut them in half and get 2 cards out of it. There's lots of ways to achieve multiple cards even with one background panel. Charcoal ink for the seeds again, and this is the third and final panel for this. And I'm using that tiny little round blending brush here, which I feel like is super great for those little teeny tiny seeds. Absolutely adorable. Again, I want to clean my glass mat. I don't want that ink to transfer to my white envelope. And while I have all my stencils out, I'm going to go ahead and ink blend that bottom lower left corner. Shifting or kind of tilting my stencil. And this time I decided to go all the way up that left side of the envelope. And I didn't re-ink my blending brush at all. I'm just reusing whatever ink is left. It gives you a little bit softer result, and for me on the envelope, I kind of prefer that. And finally, our seeds. I may re-ink those, however. Yeah, I did. And we're just going to ink that all the way up. And quick, super easy, we have a coordinating envelope. Let's move on to our layered citrus stencils. From this set, I actually chose to do two different cards. We are going to do lemons and oranges. You could do limes as well if you wanted to. I really love the versatility of this set, that you can kind of create many different citrus fruits. So for this first one, I'm going to start with cantaloupe ink and also use sherbet to create my background. So 2 colors, 3 stencils. We're going to start with our cantaloupe color, and I am going to use the bigger blending brush here. Maybe it might go a little faster, we'll see. And I'm going to go all over the background. Then we're going to switch to the sherbet color and do the outline of our oranges. So obviously this is going to be my oranges background. And then I will do the lemons next. After I've done all of the orange, I will go clean my stencils before doing the lemons. So the outer ring here of my fruit is going to be the sherbet color. And then also the citrus splash is going to be in this same color. So pretty. Now, I don't, even when there's slight imperfections, I don't worry about it. It's a background. A lot of it will be covered with the images I add on top. And so I tend to, if there's a few little things that maybe aren't lined up exact, I don't worry about it too much. Now, if it's super off, yes. But in this case, no. So I have my envelope tilted, and I am going to just ink that bottom row, again, using a kind of light hand with whatever ink is left. I think I did re-ink for the layering piece. Yep. And just trying to be careful and keep that color just along the bottom edge of my envelope, leaving plenty of room to handwrite the address right above. And we got a little splash, and perfect. Another background and envelope. Let's go ahead and do our lemons. In this one, I'm going to use Sunbeam and Citrine inks. Same thing as before. And even the yellow shows up fantastic against this craft background. I absolutely love it. We're going to grab our layering stencil. Actually, I'm going to do my envelope. Making sure there wasn't any water on my stencil. There was a little bit. I'd gone and washed it before I moved to this step. Okay, now we're going to grab Citrine. And we're going to do the outer edge of all of our citrus slices. And then we're going to do the same thing for our envelope and the final stencil in this set. Once I am completely done stenciling all of my card backgrounds and envelopes. I'm going to set my envelopes aside, take all 4 panels, and I will be splattering each with a little bit of watered down gouache. And that stencil you can see I had some smudges on my envelope. I'm going to redo it later, but I'm not going to redo it in the video. I'm going to splatter my backgrounds with the white gouache just to add a tiny bit of distressing. However, I do want to let you know that my video camera cut off as I started to do that. And so I think the majority of my splatter did not get caught by camera. I am so sorry. I've done it in many, many videos. It's a little bit of white gouache in my box, which I think you're going to see me do here. I'm going to add a little water to it, use a small paintbrush to mix it up and around, and then I'm going to splatter each background one at a time. I did add quite a bit of water. The more water you add to it, the more diluted it's going to be. So it may not be quite as bright white splatter, and for me, that's okay. I don't want it to detract and take away from the beautiful stenciling of the background, but more just be a fun little extra. So here's kind of what I'm going to do, and I will do that for all 4. Okay, it is time to stamp and emboss and color with inks our embellishments for our card. So I'm using a powder brush tool and more Desert Storm cardstock. And this little berry basket from the strawberry stamp set, or the berries stamp set, is going to be stamped and embossed 4 times. I know it's a berry basket, but I kind of liked the idea of tucking all of my different fruits and things in this basket on my card. There also is a great basket or fruit basket die in the June 2023 release that would be a great option. I kind of tried to keep, but that's a standalone die, not a coordinating stamp set. So I wanted my cards to be very consistent for this set. And so you're going to see me do a lot of the same thing, or use that, I guess I should say, as my base to build. So there will be fruit tucked inside, not just the strawberries. And I will need to stamp multiples of some of the images, things like strawberries and leaves, watermelons and leaves, lemons and leaves, and oranges, so that there are enough images to tuck into each fruit basket. If you break this down into steps, it is a lot of stamping, it is a lot of embossing, and it is a lot of die cutting. But I did mine very methodically, very mass produced, as far as I did all my backgrounds and envelopes. And then I moved on to stamping all of my images and heat embossing with white embossing powder on the Desert Storm cardstock. Then I'm going to move to die cutting all of the images and placing them with the coordinating background so that I kind of make sure that I have everything I need. We're going to then ink blend all of these to create our images, our focal point for our cards, and finally we will add sentiments to each design. And I am filling in pretty much every little piece of this 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock that I've cut in half. So this is going to be the strawberries and watermelon cards. And the next card background will be my citrus. And I'm just going to clean my images in between each and put them back away on the stamp sheet. Everything I did here, I really tried to get the most with one press of the MISTI, one pass of the die cutting machine, etc. So I did tape down tons of dies at once and passed it through my Spellbinders Platinum and tried to die cut as many things as possible. And again, for me, it's all about eliminating as many extra steps as I can. I'm stamping everything with embossing and watermark ink and heat embossing in white. I do think a cream embossing powder would have been pretty, and I kind of thought about using that. And then when I actually went to do this step, I forgot. And because I forgot, I went ahead and just did it in white, and I think that's fine. Next, I am taking my blending brushes and ink blending. We're going to start with the lemons. I'm using Sunbeam and Citrine again. And after I add my ink, you're going to notice me taking a dry microfiber cloth. You can use a dry paper towel or dry rag, and I'm going to buff away any ink sitting on top of the embossing for that embossed resist. It's going to leave you with a beautiful white outline, and this is such a quick and easy way to color in your images. You don't have to worry about outline, keeping it in within the outline, no coloring, no blending with markers or colored pencils or whatever the case may be. Very quick and easy, and I do think it matches the design of the cards really, really well. I love it. For the berry basket, I am going to pull in some some kind of minty aqua colors, and that is going to be for all of the berry baskets. And I thought it stood out really beautifully against the craft cardstock, and then all of the beautiful colors, the yellows and oranges and reds that we're using for the fruit. So it stands out a little bit. And I'm just going to kind of play around with all the pieces that I colored right there. I did the rest of my baskets off camera. Here I'm going to show you the oranges, again, cantaloupe and sherbet, same colors I used for the background, Limelicious and Perfection for the leaves, and a little citrine for the little flower blossoms, just to give them a touch of color so they're not craft. And again, don't forget to buff away any of that ink sitting on top, because that is where the magic happens. Look how cute that's going to look. Oh my goodness, I love it. Let's do our watermelon next. Now, I did pull in an extra color for my watermelons. I'm going to do Limelicious and Perfection, but I grabbed some pine ink, and I think it's going to add the perfect little extra touch. Now, these next two cards, the watermelon and strawberries, I'm going to need to use multiple colors on a couple of the images. So you'll notice I used a little Limelicious around the watermelon rinds, and then I'm going to add watermelon color ink to the rest. And smaller blending brushes are going to allow this to be done very easily. And I do love how that pine color looks on the watermelons. I think that was a good call. I love how it looks. So now just a little Perfection onto my leaves. And for me, multiple leaves, they may not be the most exciting images, but they tuck and fill in to the areas of these baskets so wonderfully and just give a complete and full scene. And you'll notice I'm just kind of pulling that color close to the green, but maybe not quite. And I love it. It's soft, it's pretty, and it's a great way to apply ink to your images in a very quick and easy manner. So I might have to play around with placement a little bit. I'm not super happy with those watermelon slices, but we'll come back to that. Again, Limelicious and Perfection for the tops of our strawberries and our leaves. Watermelon for the strawberries themselves. And then I will pull in a little cherry. I just love, love, love this background. Layering stencils for all of the things, right? Okay, let's buff all that. Look, once you buff it all off, it looks amazing. We're going to fill our strawberry basket with, I think I did about 3 items per basket, and then, of course, some things tucked around the berry basket. And then for our little flowers, again, I'm going to do a little citrine. And for the flower centers, I'm going to add some Nuvo crystal drops once I put the cards together. So we will worry about that here in just a little bit. Then we are going to warm up our Glimmer hot foil machine. And I want to foil the Friend Script hot foil plate twice on craft cardstock, foiling with gold foil. And originally I thought I was going to emboss all my greetings on green cardstock, but I laid it out and didn't like it, so I'm going to redo that as well. You can kind of see that in the bottom lower corner. Sometimes things are misses, not hits. I will say that this hot foil plate worked amazing each and every time I used it. I love it. Full coverage, no missing areas. I use my favorite gold foil and absolutely love it. Off camera, I will be stamping my sentiments from the citrus, watermelon, and strawberries stamp sets on white cardstock with VersaFine Onyx black ink. The friend greeting was die cut with the coordinating friend script die, and that is a 2-piece die, so you can die cut the word friend if you don't foil or don't have a foiling machine. You can die cut the word and then layer it on the shadow if you want. So I love that there's more than one option. And then I am assembling my images and popping them up with foam adhesive. So I tucked my oranges kind of in the basket, and then I popped the whole thing up with foam, and now I'm tucking the orange slices around it. I'm also going to put foam along the bottom edge of my die cut friend script and place that down along the bottom edge. 2 of my cards feature the die cut greeting, and then 2 of the cards are going to feature stamped and embossed and die cut greetings from their respective sets. If I just kind of I wanted them to be as similar as possible, I guess is what I want to say. So you're going to notice a very similar design style for each card, even though they're different greetings and even though they're different fruit. They're all going to have a berry basket with the fruit tucked inside. They're all going to have some fruit tucked around the edge outside of the basket. They're all going to have a large script greeting, whether it's foiled and die cut or stamped, embossed, and die cut. And then there's going to be a sentiment strip somewhere from the coordinating set. So Wish I Could Give You a Squeeze is from the citrus set. That was die cut with a Simon Says Stamp sentiment labels die. And then just filling in with leaves and all of that good stuff around the background. And then once I'm all finished, I'm going to attach each of these to a white top fold card base, and we're going to finish with some of the new flat sequin colors from this June release. I found it worked best to kind of fill the berry basket, if you will, before adding the foam. That way I didn't have to cut anything or try to figure out how to make it fit back behind. If I just glued it down behind first and then attached it with the foam to the card, it worked great. I'm only applying the little foam squares along the bottom edge of the die cut word and then glue along the top because it's used kind of as a way to ground the little scene that we're building on these stenciled backgrounds. And for me, the greenery for each card, whether it's just leaves or some actual bigger greenery pieces, is what brings it all together. And we have 2 cards put together. Let's get our berries now for our third one. And again, tucking those strawberries inside, I'm using liquid glue and I'm using my tweezers to kind of help pinch and hold that together. Adding our foam. I used foam tape. This is Simon Says Stamp foam tape. And then I used foam squares here and there. This has large greenery, of course. And this is going to have the Berry Much greeting. I think I only used 1 foam square on this for the loop in the letter Y that hangs down below. The rest is glued down in place. Tuck in all those little extra bits and pieces like little flowers and leaves. And then we have a smaller little sentiment strip that says thank you, pardon me, very much. And finally, our watermelon. So I'm going to glue my slice kind of in front. The whole watermelons are going to be tucked back behind with some greenery. And then we're going to add our foam and all the little pieces. And then this was, pardon me, and then this is the background where I couldn't quite figure out where to put those watermelon slices, but I'm very happy with how I ended up adding those. And then this is another stamped and embossed die cut. So stamped and embossed in antique gold to kind of coordinate back to the gold foiling we did for the word friend. This has 3 sentiment strips. I added hi sweet friend, and then we're gonna do thanks a melon. I love the little punny greetings. I think I like this better. So we're gonna do both slices over here along the left side. Like so. And then we will add that extra leaf and the foam for the thanks a melon. So hi sweet friend, thanks a melon. Now it's time to add any finishing detail, and as I mentioned earlier, we're going to attach each of these to a white top fold card base, and then we'll add a sprinkling of sequins. I went ahead and put the 3 new colors of sequins, and these are all flat back sequins. The colors are lemon shimmer, strawberry shimmer, and lime maybe? I can't remember. Oh, yes, lime shimmer. And I have them in my triangle trays from Simon Says Stamp. And we're going to add just a few of them on each background. They're going to be the perfect little finishing touch here. I love all of the little embellishments. Pretty Pink Posh does great little embellishments. So the strawberries and watermelons got the strawberry shimmer, the lemon card got lemon shimmer, and my orange card got the lime shimmer. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for these 4 cards featuring the brand new color layering stencils, stamps, dies, hot foil plates, and sequins from the Pretty Pink Posh June 2023 release. The supplies I used to create my cards are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for joining me today for another paper crafting tutorial. I love being able to share with this incredible community of crafters. I want to give a huge shout out and special thank you to my amazing Patreon members. If you're interested in joining Patreon, please click the link in the description underneath the video here on YouTube. Patreon is a private community where you can support more of what I do. There's exclusive content, you'll receive a handmade birthday card from me during your birthday month, monthly lives for my top tier patrons, and more. We would love to have you join our growing community. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel, click the like button, and don't forget to click the notification bell so you're always notified when I have a video or go live. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you again next time.